Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here, Swing Batter. What are we doing? We're talking about the World Baseball Classic, because it was a classic, as in classic for your MLB team, to see if any of the players returned. With me, who are returning and did not get injured in the World Baseball Classic. How you doing, Dad?
I'm doing wonderful. Just very international flavor tonight.
Oh, international. Very good. And Todd, not injured as well. Welcome back to the podcast.
I'm all fan with Team Italy with the Nespresso in the dugout. Little espresso going on. It's my new favorite team. I love that. I have 6 shots of espresso in here right now, and we're going to town, Italian style. Every team in the World Baseball Classic should have a token drink from their company from their country that they can share, just with everybody around the world.
If you're going to do that, then are you doing alcoholic beverages or on tap as well for the managers?
Listen, if you're the Czech Republic team, how can you not? How can you not have a good keg of Pilsner in the dugout? You're a beer league team anyway. Go in there and live it out.
I was thinking Japan with sake would not be very good for that team. The team doing a repeat.
Oh, I don't understand why teams didn't take more of an advantage of that. Can you imagine? Japan has the green tea. They have a whole Japanese tea ceremony on one end. Italy's got the espresso. Mike Piazza, the manager, was complaining that the only problem they had was that they had to drink it out of paper cups. If they actually had the ceramic espresso cups, that would have been the best, right? Czech Republic, go with a Pilsner. That's fine. We could do that up. Great Britain, they could have English tea, I guess.
Why are they not? Why would they have paper cups for espresso? That makes no sense.
I don't think they wanted like the ceramic in the dugout or something like that.
Oh, they were worried Albert Bell was going to come over.
No, jeez,
break all the china
and break it all up.
Why America doesn't use these great intimidators? Albert Bell should have just been the third base coach, and he should have just looked at the other team's dugout the whole time.
Just stared.
Just didn't even care what was happening on base. Just turned around, crossed his arms, and looked at the dugout, and just pointed at individuals. It's all.
But if you're a third base coach, honestly, is there a lot of skill involved in that position, or is that like just a ceremonial position?
No, I think there's definitely some skill to not get hit by the ball, and you are only noticed when you send the runner when you shouldn't, or stop the runner when you shouldn't either. So again,
that's a judgment call. That's a judgment call. Like, how much do you really have to tell the runner to go? Because the runner probably knows coming around. They're just looking for a surprise. You got to tell them if there's a surprise. Half of them are running through your signal anyway.
I'm just saying that you're only remembered when you fail.
It seems to me, I could be wrong on this, but it seems to me like in the World Baseball Classic, there's no communist countries that send a baseball team.
Cuba.
Are they...
Venezuela?
Venezuela?
Didn't the U.S. beat Cuba in the semifinal?
Yes, they did.
I believe so.
Well...
So we're going to count Cuba and Venezuela as communist countries.
Is Venezuela still communist? I thought that was kind of like... anarchy at this point.
That's where I thought about Cuba, but
isn't Cuba being run by his Castro's brother?
Isn't he like 100?
I don't know. Cuba could sponsor this podcast if they would just send us some cigars or something.
If you came here for the geography or the political foreign affairs, we're here for you.
Right.
I mean, we're about to dive into the Ukraine conflict here in a minute.
Yeah.
Buckle up, everybody, because we can tell you one thing. Neither of those countries set a baseball team because their players were too busy fighting.
That's true.
A real fight. But you can't say, like, Poland didn't want to field the team this year, apparently, either. But
No.
the Czech Republic did.
No.
Again, how Italy has a team, Czech Republic, how Czech Republic had a team. Back in the day, that was a big communist team. Not anymore.
Right.
Much. I think they had some regular workers were pitching and doing things.
So the Czech Republic ended ranked above Italy?
It's a travesty.
Come on. That's scandalous right there. I'm looking at the national rankings right now.
National rankings. I did Japan.
No, the international rankings. Poland is ranked 56th.
Poland does have a team, and that's good.
Wait a minute. 56.
Yeah.
That's about that.
There's 56 teams?
No, there's more. There's 81 teams. The last place team in World Baseball as of March 12th is Estonia.
But only 20 teams made it to the Classic.
Was it that many, or was it just 16? Or maybe it was 20 teams. I don't know. Well, once again, lukewarm takes you can only find here at Swing Batter.
I kind of feel like there's a Division 2 and 3 here. It's kind of like college. Like the lower of the world baseball teams are just like there to get slaughtered.
Well, yeah, but that's pretty much any tournament, right?
I guess it's like World Cup, right? I mean, we all know who's going to be in the top 4. It's not America. I know. America has so much hope. Yay, we send our best. Oh, no, we don't. They go play other sports and get paid a lot more money. So that's why.
Oh, wait, I'm reading these rankings totally wrong. And you want to know why? Because they write this international date wrong. They write the day first.
The day.
So it says the 31st of December, 2022. We got to standardize this. Like, what kind of country are we where we just accept websites with dates that are written by Europeans?
We also are the only country that doesn't do the metric system, so...
Well, thank God for it.
Well, I mean, it helped us get the space, I guess. So let's get in the World Baseball Classic. I'm going to start with the ugly, because there was some ugliness here, and it's before baseball season, so I only get to ugly when we're looking at injuries. And we had some terrible injuries in the preseason, and the World Baseball Classic also offered some terrible injuries. But I'm going to start with the pitcher who threw the pitch to Jose Altuve of the Astros, and he's a Colorado Rockies pitcher. And if you watch that inning, he basically just threw balls up there all day long. He was not finding the strike zone. He was wild as could be, fractured his thumb. So he's out for a couple months, it appears like. They have no timetable because then he had surgery on the thumb. So that's just ugly. So it's, again, I don't know how the frustration as a fan. Here's my frustration as a fan watching these batters. When they get hit on the wrist or the forearm or something like that, there is nothing to protect them. I don't know of anything that you can protect those areas of injury, especially the ball obviously hits you at 98, 100 miles an hour, you're breaking something. Your bones are not made to handle that. And the Diamondbacks lost a catcher to fracture forearm by getting hit by a pitch. These are all ugly injuries you don't want to see in spring training. And World Baseball Classic, everyone's playing. They want to play. They want to win. You know, Guerrero Jr. pulled out because he said his knee was hurting him, which I have major concerns for Toronto because he is in his he is a young 20-year-old. He is not old, and he should not be having knee troubles this early on in his career. So hopefully they get him right as rain. So that was ugly. And then the worst one was Diaz for the Mets. Not only did he throw a great end of the game, closed it out for the win, and they're celebrating, and this injury is really, really bad. And the problem with this, I forget the recovery time for this injury, but there's concern. There's concern about how it heals. There's concern because of which leg he hurt it on. And again, breaking a finger, you fix it, you're back. This is, again, his knee. It's a very scary injury, and I don't know if everyone watched the wheelchair going off, but they didn't help him at all with that. Did you see them moving his leg, and he was like stopping people from touching him?
Yeah, that was horrific.
There was not like an ambulance drives onto the field. It was like, oh, we'll just put him in a wheelchair. And the wheelchair looked like one of those wheelchairs you find on like the side aisle of a New York hospital that has never been used. And you're like, here, sit on this so I can reel you around. And everything about moving him was so, I couldn't believe it. I was like, nothing of this is good. And he was in so much pain. I don't know if you saw a couple of times.
How many times have you seen haven't seen a player wheeled off the baseball field? Right?
I don't think
usually if somebody's hurt, it's like a stretcher. Like if they're really bad, it's a stretcher.
They bring out the cart.
Right.
they put him on a cart and they stabilized the leg and they put him on a cart. This was like straight up get in a wheelchair, and the guy moved his leg. And did you see him?
Oh,
His
God.
reaction was so like that painful, like I want to punch you, but I can't. And it's like, don't ever touch my leg right now. So Todd, you want to get into the knee injury? Because I mean, I know you read a lot about the concerns, and I don't know anything about this recovery, but none of it, to me, everything about this was just sad. It was just sad to watch.
I know Mets fans are optimistic. I know Diaz is saying he's going to come back this year. There's a couple things you got to understand. The torn patellar is an issue because it's a push-off. So it's a push-off leg. It's the push-off leg for his pitch.
It's not his landing leg. This is the leg he stabilizes everything off of the mound.
Right.
It's the extension. It's the power.
So I don't care what you're doing for rehab after that. That's going to affect your delivery. You have to learn a new delivery. You have to get around that. You wonder if the velocity was there. You wonder what's going to be there after he rehabs this thing, if he's going to be able to pitch the same way. And here's the problem. You locked into the guy for 5 years as your closer, and he hasn't thrown one pitch. You know? And, Dad, I honestly blame you, because you had him identified as the one contract that was going to blow up this year, and we didn't even get into the season for him to prove you right. And the other part is just so stupid. It ranks up there with the wild boar running over Cespedes in the offseason on his ranch that basically screwed up his career. It's there with Chase Utley, just sliding 40 feet outside of the base path to take out a player in the playoffs. And then, I don't know, like I think of ways that Mets players have been injured, and this is up there with like the top villains in Mets history. It's World Baseball Classic, Wild Boar, Chase Utley, and I don't know, throw Roger Clemens in there too, just because he probably hurt somebody or something. I don't know. There's somebody else up there, but the top three the World Baseball Classic is up there in your top three with Wild Boar and Chase Utley as villains for Mets players. That's where I would put it. And it's not going to get, I'm sorry, it's not going to get better. I'm in the throes of misery, right? Like Diaz does not come back the same from this. He doesn't.
It's what they even said about this injury is they said the recovery, you go right into rehab, and they say setbacks happen. Not we don't think any setbacks. With this injury, setbacks occur.
Correct.
And so the way they were wheeling him around, I hope they got a good doctor to do the surgery, because that was not again, everything about that was just terrible. And I thought the World Baseball Classic was a good time. It was great to bring baseball, give it a different flavor, give it a different feeling, but these injuries are just painful. They're painful to start the season.
I wasn't sold on it, and then by the end I was kind of sold on it, because these players are so passionate about their playing for their country. Like even the players of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, talking about the pride they have in the country and being able to play for it and represent their country on this international stage, and how much bigger that is than just the World Series, where they're representing, in Jerry Seinfeld's words, laundry. But in this, it's a matter of pride, and it's a matter of, they're dealing with, their country. So, I think the only solution the Mets have right now at closer is to go to Matt Harvey.
The espresso,
and I'll take my espresso. Dark Knight,
and
no.
We have to go to Dad on this, because he did pick him in his top 5. And I know he didn't pick him because of an injury. He wasn't thinking that he was going to get hurt this early in the season. He was picking him because closers notoriously, when they get a big contract, it's hard to live up to the hype, and you blow a couple games at the end of the season and everybody hates you. He's not blowing any games this year. He's not saving any games this year. And I know for a fact when a 28-year-old signs this agreement, there's nobody in their right mind that thought that an injury like this would ever occur.
Well, I think you said it correctly. I didn't expect, nor is no one's happy to see an injury. It's tragic. I've just seen it too often. Closers do really well, they sign a big contract, and they may even be good for a year or two, but boy, when they lose it, they cost you games, and a lot of big name closers end up just not being able to be closers anymore because they lost it, and a little bit comes off the fastball or something, and it just seems to me as a casual watcher that the Tampa Bay philosophy of get a bunch of young guys who can throw 100 miles an hour and use a different one every night worked pretty well for a while for them.
And how many guys are out there that are throwing 100 miles an hour that might be available?
Well, you got to sign them when they're 16 and 17 years old.
Yeah. But
and there's still, I mean, you still got some injuries within the spring training. So those are the big ones in the World Baseball Classic. But overall, overall, my perspective of the World Baseball Classic is I had folks talking about it that typically didn't talk about baseball. So I thought that was really great. And anytime you can get people excited about the game, I think it's wonderful. And I'm going to talk more and more and more about this. The one rule change that's going to make everyone excited about going back to baseball is the pitch clock. I went to a couple spring training games this year. Still going to go to a couple more. Not only do they use 8 or 9 pitchers, but the game flows. It is timely. You're seeing batters are not getting out of the box because they can't. So if you're going to sit on the baseball stadium and get on your phone, you're going to miss at bats. I took one phone call at a spring training game. I stepped out. I missed an inning. Unheard of. Last year. When you go to a baseball game, you can take a call, come back, you're still in the same inning. No. Same in half inning. There were very short innings. I had a half inning that was timed under 4 minutes. Just to me, that's wild based on what I've witnessed in the past. So the game moves. There is a pace of play. I think it's fantastic. I encourage everyone who has not gone to a spring training facility or a game, get after it. Check it out. Baseball is not the game that you can just passively watch now. It's moving.
Well, I mean, you could passively watch it. It's just moving it a little bit faster.
They talked about the clock speeding things up. They talked about the shift giving more opportunity for left-hand hitters. They talked about the pitcher can only go to the first 2 times, and the bases are bigger, that maybe we'll have more stolen bases. And those are all really interesting discussions. I discovered one the other day when I looked at my favorite team's schedule, and I said, what is this? Are everyone aware that you no longer just play the teams? The National League teams played one division of the American League, and that changed from year to year. Now they play every American League team. And so what they had to do is they had to cut back the games in your division. The Diamondbacks play the Dodgers this year 10 times.
What?
Last year they played them 19 times. You look at your schedule, Todd, the Phillies, the Braves, you're not going to play them as much as you used to because you got to play every American League team. Now, the crazy thing about the Diamondbacks' crazy schedule, the first 10 games of the year, they play 8 against the Dodgers and 2 against the Padres. First 10 games are against the 2 big guys. They only have 2 games left with the Dodgers the whole season. After the first take. Yeah, it's a crazy schedule. You look at your schedule and say, what is this? We're not playing the Phillies and the Braves anywhere near as much.
So what's the sense of being in the same division with them if you're not playing them as much?
Whoever thought of this said that fans should be able to see every American League team, not just from one division or a National League team. So you look at that and look at the number of games you got against, take the Braves, the big rival of the Mets. You're going to see about a half as many games as you used to have.
Well, that's not a rivalry then.
That's crazy. It's crazy. But that hasn't been discussed. But that schedule changes. If you care about schedules, that's really shocking.
I mean, like,
I would agree with you. I agree with you completely on that. Like, it's not expected that the Mets should play the Braves 10, 12 times.
No.
And that's
like,
really
I guess I'm relieved we don't have to go to Miami and watch that horrific stadium too much.
But The thing that I wonder about for me is when you're deciding a division, which is important,
Right.
and you only have 40 games in your division now. That's it.
Yeah.
It's 100.
I don't know if it's 40, but it's not very many.
Right, but you're saying that the Diamondbacks play the Dodgers 10 times, 10, 12 times in the year, right? Let's say it's 12. Well, I mean, your division, you're going to get 4 teams, so that's 40.
We used to have to play 4 or 5 American League teams. Now we play 16 American League teams.
Mm.
Wait
Yeah,
a second. So the Mets play the Marlins. I just looked at this. The Mets play the Marlins 5 times in April.
No.
April?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Play
And
5
check the
times.
rest. Check
They
the rest
don't
of the.
play them again until
Yep.
September 18th. They don't see the Marlins again until September 18th, and they play them 6 times between September 18th and September 28th.
So they finished the season against Miami.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's good if you're in a pennant race and you get games against them at the end.
Well, yeah, here's who the Mets are playing in September. 3 games against the Mariners, 2 games against the Nationals, 3 games against the Twins, 4 games against the Diamondbacks, 3 games against the Reds, Marlins, Phillies, Marlins, Phillies.
Who's not in there? The Braves.
Braves aren't in there. Outside of the Phillies, any team that's good. Like the Mets should win probably 26 games in September. Just count it out.
You start off with Seattle. That's a tough one.
Oh, okay, no, okay. So then we'll have one. Okay, so let's say the Mariners win 2, right? Because they're in Seattle, and who plays in Seattle besides the Mariners?
Oh, the shame is that you're not going to face Carrera in September because we know he's not going to be playing because of his wobbly ankle.
Right? But they're at Minnesota in September. Like, who wants to go to Minnesota in September?
The Reds are a gift. Playing the Reds in September is a gift.
So they'll win 2 against the Nationals. They'll sweep the Twins, right? So now they've won 6 games so far. They'll sweep the Diamondbacks. That's 10 games. They'll sweep the Reds. That's 13 games. Sweep the Marlins, 16 games. They'll split with the Phillies, 18. Sweep the Marlins again, 21, and split with the Phillies, 22 games. They're going to win 22 games in
The
September.
good thing is going into
They
September.
could win 15.
Going into September, they play the Angels and Rangers
Oh,
in back-to-back series before they get to September. Now, again, they play the Braves in August. Pretty. They play them in 2 series in August.
6
They play
games
6
in August against the Braves.
They get the Cardinals, the Royals, the Orioles. I mean, their schedule at the end. This is going to be an interesting season with the schedule. This is not.
It's a crazy.
This
schedule.
is.
This looks like it was designed by ChatGPT.
No, way worse.
They're like, hey, ChatGPT, you're scheduling Major League Baseball. Do it in a way that no one cares.
If that.
I get to play the Royals.
Oh, that's what everybody wants to see. I can't wait for that rivalry. Let's reenact 2016.
This is pretty wild. This is a pretty wild idea with the schedule because it's
I
that.
just couldn't believe it that after the second week of the year, the Diamondbacks have 2 games left with the Dodgers.
This is highly controversial and is way better a conversation than the World Baseball Classic.
It's crazy. I just take your favorite team and take a look at their schedule. You'll be quite surprised.
I mean, the one thing that's going to happen is the teams that, like the Diamondbacks, you're going to see teams you haven't seen in a long time, and we have a lot of transplants here. That's exciting for them. But again, you're going to get so excited about so many teams. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this plays out because the biggest problem with it's a long season. And the biggest problem with this is if you face a team like the Dodgers early when they're injured or not injured, and then you face them late, they're different teams. And the same thing with other baseball teams. So if you're playing the Yankees at a certain time, you may get them when they're going through some injuries or a tough spot. But if you get them when they're hot, you're getting swept. And then you're like, well, that didn't help us.
Well, that can happen any year.
Yes, but you didn't have to face all of the teams. With you facing all of the teams, that means you're not facing your own division enough. So you could get your own division when they're not hot or injured or when they're coming back and they are hot. So it's that September baseball against the Miami Marlins there and the Philadelphia Phillies is huge.
Yeah, whatever they're called.
Well, let's look at it this way. If you're in a division that's got a lot of good teams, well, like take the American League East last year, only one or two of them can be in the wild card because they beat each other up so much they hurt their records. Where if you're a second place team in a lousy division, you can have a better record. Now that's not true. You could have 3 or 4 teams in the same division because they're not playing each other as much, accumulate pretty good records if they're all really good teams.
Do you realize what this means?
Chaos.
The Rangers in the playoffs.
No, the Rangers are...
Now, the division could be wild cards.
No.
Well, it's true. They're not going to get as many games against Houston and Seattle.
Can you imagine if the A's are the only team in that division that doesn't make the playoffs?
That's impossible.
Would that be the first time in history that a whole Major League Baseball division, except for one team, makes the playoffs?
I was looking in August and September to see when DeGrom's not going to be pitching, and to see who they're going to face off with. And so, I mean, you get the A's, the Angels, Brew Crew, the Twins, I mean, in August, and then in September, they do heavy on the division at the end. So the Rangers face Seattle and the Angels. So you face 2 teams in your division at the end. Why it's Seattle and the Angels to end the year? I mean,
not the Astros, right? They don't have to play the Astros?
They play the Astros at the beginning of September for 3 games. That's it. Not at the end. They do get Cleveland and they get Toronto. So the Rangers September is rough. Based on, if you look at Toronto is going to be good. The Guardians are going to be good. Yes, they play the Red Sox, and yes, they play Oakland and the Twins, but they play Astros, Blue Jays, Guardians, Seattle, the Angels, and then Seattle again.
That's in September?
That's in September. So to me, I'm excited about the Seattle Rangers at the end of the season because I think Seattle's playing for something.
I think what they tried to do is the old method is you played one division in the other league. Like you play the American League West. And if you happen to have a year where that division's really good, all your American League games are hard, right?
Correct.
Where there's a division that's not very good, you don't even play them at all. Now you get all of them. So I think what it does is it evens off the competition. You got games against good and bad teams now, not just the good or not just the bad. So I don't know. That's worth the discussion too. But it's strange if you're used to baseball looking a certain way. I'm looking in September, the top teams in the division, Braves, Phillies, Mets playing a lot of games against each other. Not going to happen.
This is typical of what happens when communist propaganda gets involved in
I thought I just tried to prove that we don't let communism into baseball.
Well, it just did, because now everybody is the same, and we're going to...
No, I think there's a fair argument that Dad makes there that I really do like. If you are facing off with a hot division, your National League division is getting creamed by that American League division, it hurts your chances in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality. That's the reality.
If you take, let's just make up the American League Central, if that's a weaker division, and all your American League games against those guys, while somebody else has to play the Yankees and Toronto and all that, that's not fair. Now it evens off.
I understand that mentality because, again, I would be chomping at the bits this year against the AL West. You get Oakland, you get the Angels, and you get the Rangers. And we know those 3 are not going to be good. Yeah, you had to face Seattle and Astros, but that's what you typically get. But you do have down years. And when you have a down year in that division and an up year in another division, it just ruins your chances of having 2 teams in the playoffs. So this does even that out. I think that's a fair way of looking at it.
But I do think the natural division rivals are going to see each other less.
Yeah,
and that's
a hard pill to swallow. We'll see what they do with that. I mean, they can change it. I mean, they can always revamp it, make 2-game series, 3-game series, things like that with American League. Again, I'm okay with them playing the American League. I don't think it's a bad thing. especially with the DH now. So this will be interesting. This will be very interesting to see what occurs here with this.
So there's several changes in baseball that are going to affect how this 162-game marathon plays out.
Yes, and the biggest impact, again, I still think the biggest impact is the pitch clock. When I talk to fans, they would tell me how terrible it was to watch a game of baseball. And I'm not going to even
fans.
Listen, you're gonna have people you want to come to the game and enjoy their time, and if they're sitting there saying this is so boring, I can't handle it, that extra half an hour that they have shaved off, and they've shaved a half an hour off in spring training. I watched an injury happen, many pitching changes, and we're talking a 2.5 hour game. Old spring training, that's over 3 hours easy.
But you know where it makes the biggest difference though is it makes the biggest difference between the 7th and the 9th inning. The people bolting for the doors between the 7th and 9th inning because the game's getting a little long in the tooth for the spectator, not the fan. The fan stays.
Right.
The fan stays and watches. Are you listening, Los Angeles? I'm talking to you. The fan stays and watches the game. The spectator worries about traffic getting out of the parking lot.
And with the pitch clock, at the end of the game, you don't have the closer sitting there getting a new ball. The guy gets out of the batter's box, back and forth. Ooh, what's he going to throw? Strike one. And then you're talking, what is he thinking? He's waving him off. The other thing that's great, and again, I can't wait for some of the videos we're going to see with the pitchers calling their own pitch. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, with that computer thing?
Like it.
How wacky is that?
It's again, welcome to the age. We are so close to computer umpires calling balls and strikes, which I think is fantastic. I like the fact that you don't have to search for a strike zone. So I think baseball is going the way that it should go.
I think you should explain pitchers calling their own pitch.
Yeah. Oh, very fair. So they have provided them technology that allows a pitcher to communicate to the catcher without any signs. So the pitcher can tell the catcher, I want a fastball in, I want a changeup down, and the catcher can nod in agreement, or they can shake each other off. Or if you're Zach Greinke, you can shake your own pitch off, where he literally has said fastball, and then he goes, no, I would like to go with a change. Nope, I'm going to...
Did you see that clip?
It's so fantastic. It's so fantastic. So they're talking to each other. And again, this is really great because it allows for the pace and allows for, the game to move. And again, I saw an inside the park home run because a center fielder decided to eat the wall a little harder than he should have. But when you're watching the game and you just sit there as a casual fan, families are like, this was a good time. The action was always going. My kids were interested in the game. There wasn't that part where it's like, oh, my kid just wants to go play at the playground or leave or walk around. The young kids you're watching this and you're fighting social media. You're fighting attention spans that are no longer there. You put the pitch clock down. People say, okay, I know what I need to do. I know when I need to focus. And I see a lot less people on phones. It was good. It was a good experience.
Speaking of computer umps, that can't happen soon enough. Did you see that college game where that umpire just decided he wanted out? He just wanted out. And it wasn't even the third. Everybody's talking about the third strike and how he wanted to show up the batter because the batter got upset at the second strike. The second strike was horrible. And he'd probably been doing stuff before then the entire time. But these guys, they got God forbid you sit there and actually call a game. I don't care if the game's not close. Call balls and strikes and call them right. Like that third strike wasn't even in the zip code. Not even in the zip code. And I think he got a sit down for like a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Should have.
Listen, if you're in a job that requires any sense of precision, you could kill people with that level of sloppiness.
Wait, breaking news. He was picked up by the EPA. So good news, everybody. He's roughly within the target of what the government wants you to do to keep things clean.
What's the phrase?
Give or take a couple meters.
What's the phrase? It's close enough for government work, right?
That's a good phrase.
Close enough for government work.
Don't worry. In the Swing Batter series of podcasts, we're going to add some more talent. And don't worry, we're going to add Government Bob. I'm sure he's going to have his own podcast because he's got plenty of time. He'll probably do it right at his cube. and tell his supervisors, what are you going to do? Eat soup. You can't suspend me. I already have like 3 months of PTO. So yes, pitch clock is going to be fantastic. I am always concerned for concessions. I think it's always been slow. I think it's slower now. So maybe next year we have computer umps and we have computer concessions. Just some ideas out there, everybody. Order from a tablet.
I was thinking about concessions. It seems to me like more than ever, the guys walking the rows up and down selling stuff become more important because you don't want to get up and go back.
Amen.
I don't know.
Amen.
If they have the same employment problems as every restaurant in America, they can't find enough people to do it.
Well, those guys, I'm going to tell you something. Those guys in New York, that is an art. There's nothing. I'm telling you, I've been to Yankee Stadium. I've been to Shea Stadium before it was Citi Field. I've been to Citi Field. There are guys, if they got a bag of peanuts, they can hit any seat within a 2-mile radius with absolute precision. And they're not doing checkdowns like Tom Brady. They're doing like Aaron Rodgers level, like hitting the target on the run. And they will, I'll get your money later. I'll get your money later. It's an art. And the good guys, their vocals can be heard above a wave. They can be heard above chants. They can be heard. It doesn't matter. Those guys are now so important. Owners, find yourself a food vendor that is a personality. Stick him in that section and overpay that guy. You're going to sell more dogs. You're going to sell more brats. You're going to sell more beers. You're going to sell more peanuts. And make sure that they can hit the guy on the dime. That's what you want.
Wholeheartedly agree. And again, they are full of energy. Find the right ones. They're perfect. But you got to find the right ones.
I love those guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year of baseball. I think this is going to be one that is going to attract a lot of fans. I think basketball is not where it used to be. As far as attendance, they're there, but as far as TV watching, it's just not the same that it used to be. Football obviously is not being around right now. Baseball has a real opportunity here.
I know we're getting on in time, but I just want to remind everybody, it all starts next week. Get ready for opening day. There's nothing like it. Tell the kids they can skip school and stay home and party with you.
Well, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and hopefully the Diamondbacks do an 8-game sweep of the Dodgers and all their injuries. This is the time.
From your lips to what I say, from your lips to God's ears.
That'd be fantastic. What a start. We have the tiebreaker. Yeah, we beat you in the beginning of the season when all your guys were injured because you thought you were playing a normal season. We do have some more injuries. I'm not as detailed or crazy, but there's some more injury reports, and I just want to focus on Texas because I love him, and my brother's there, and he just is such a big fan. And all of his kids, they just love the Rangers and all of the gear that they had to spend. I asked him how much of the hats now are they $50? Did they just go higher and higher with everything? So Eovaldi is hurt. He's questionable for opening day. I think, I don't know if you've read that. He is one of the big signings that they had. Where is that?
Who had Eovaldi on your 20-sided dice of Texas players that weren't going to play this season?
No, I think he's going to play, but it says that he's just a little bit under the weather. Here we go. He has side tightness. He's questionable for opening day. And then, arm fatigue he's a reliever. That's really not, I thought it was another starter, but no. See, Eovaldi was the signing. They don't have anything on DeGrom or anybody like that, but Eovaldi has some side tightness, which is not very good. That's really the only Texas one that really is.
So Texas is looking pretty healthy right now.
I would say Texas is looking pretty healthy for what they have signed. And again, their pitchers, we already said they don't do a lot. Boston has guys that are just done. Trevor Story is maybe one of the worst signings. He's already done for the year because of an injury, and he just came over from Colorado. Chris Sale is expected to be ready for opening day. That would be great to see him back. I would love to see him back, but again, I wonder if the pitch clock is going to make these pitchers go to the minors for a bit to figure that out. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes on. The Angels only have 2 notables, nobody of note. Their starting pitching has never been more talented. I think we've shared those notes.
Oh, God. So the Angels are claiming that?
The Angels are claiming they're ready. They're ready. The best part is the start of the season. You know, I always like to judge a baseball season based on football season. So those playing at home, what you want to do is take 10 games and look at it as one game. So if your team goes 5-5, they're okay. If they're 2-8, not a good start. 8-2, you're off running. After 40 games, that's when you kind of shake it out. If you're about 500, you're in it. You're way under 500, there's some serious problems. And if you're above 500, especially if you start off hot, then you're like one of those teams that playoff talk should happen. So I would look at it at 40 games every 10 game. That's what I look at it as a click to see kind of what the trends are looking like. And that way you can see who's getting hot, who's not getting hot. And I always, with this new schedule, we're going to see some teams that are hot running into each other, which will be great. Good for the fan. I hope people are commenting in the sections about down here while we're watching this, talking about what their experience for spring training's been with the pitch clock. Hardcore baseball fans are happy with it. And like I said, watching people not be on their phone, it's been pretty good. But you're not putting your phone up to your face because the thing's taking too long. I think that's a big win for Major League Baseball. So as we close out the podcast, Todd, any closing remarks for the new season as we get underway with the Mets in turmoil and more injuries than we like to know?
Don't sleep on the Cardinals this year. I'll just put that out there. That's my. I don't know if that's a sleeper pick or what, but I think the NL Central this year is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a Cardinals Cubs, and it's just, I don't know. I think it could be very interesting. I think there's a lot of room to play there, and it's going to be somewhat unique. And bring back Matt Harvey. I know he distributed drugs to kids, but come on.
Everybody makes a mistake.
He had a bad day.
My closing thoughts are with the Mets. If you're looking at injuries, it's not pretty. Nimmo's hurt. Diaz, obviously. Jose.
Nimmo's not hurt. He's starting opening day.
Sure, okay. Jose's not. Diaz is certainly not.
Yeah.
Marte may not be. You got some names that are not starting the year off the way you want. So, to Dad's point about the schedule, you start the first month heavy on your division, and then you end it heavy on your division. That's pretty much it.
With Miami,
yeah, Miami's looking fresh.
From the point of view of the Diamondbacks, whose first 10 games are against Dodgers and Padres, if at the end of 10 games we're 4-6, we're in good shape. Because we don't play those guys again. So,
Dad, I have them at 7-3.
7-3. I'm buying World Series tickets.
Yeah. Because when you play the favorites, they don't ever show up hot out of the gate. I mean, everyone's known the Patriots when they were winning those Super Bowls. They always started like 0-2 so he could cut some guys and make everyone feel the pain. 0-1.
Truthfully, the baseball standings don't really count until you've played 80 games. And after 80 games, take a look.
Todd, to your point about the NL Central, I am extremely interested in the Cubs this year. I think they've done a lot of good moves, and to see the Cubs back in it, interesting. I think that's good for baseball. Really, really good for baseball. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope everybody else is. Fill up those stadiums. Make the concessions folks sweat. Let's see how we can make this happen. Again, and for us here at Swing Batter, thanks for joining us again for this podcast, and we enjoyed having you, and we hope to hear your opinions about your team. Thanks so much.